sermon is called Yes, Lord, I Believe. So, as believers, we need to firmly, deeply, wholeheartedly believe that the Lord's ways are above our ways. Otherwise, we risk losing our belief in God or faith in Him. So I just want to encourage you guys in times of false hope, disappointment, we must remember these truths. His ways involve greater works always. So maybe in the past it didn't work out for our church to get a certain church, but His ways involve greater works. We got something greater. Yeah. Ultimately, it is His view of you that counts. So basically, if there's a disappointment or somebody, you're kind of upset that something happened, it doesn't matter what others view you as. If others view you as a failure or whatever you guys think they might view you as, it's His view of you that counts. He has plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future. Also, we must remember this other truth, that God has His own perfect timing for everything. He has more power and authority than anyone on this earth. And just remember those things to prevent your guys' self from getting negative in times of trouble. And for example, going to the story of Jesus and Mary and Martha, they were praying over about Lazarus, and they really wanted Lazarus to get healed, and they're asking Jesus, come to heal him, but Jesus waited a few days before answering. Martha and Mary's summons to help their dying brother when Jesus arrived. Martha offered a stinging statement of faith to Jesus. She was like, if you'd been there, Lazarus wouldn't have died. That's kind of like harsh to say to him. I mean, I bet that was kind of hurtful, and that was a really blunt statement to say to somebody who is in charge of everything on this earth. However, Jesus brought Martha to deeper faith by revealing that He is the resurrection and the life, by showing her that Lazarus is soon going to raise from the dead. So perhaps your faith needs a Martha transformation from saying, if only you had done this, God, if only you did this, if only you gave me this, if only you gave me that past church, if only you gave me that church, to, yes, Lord, I believe. Yes, Lord, I believe we're going to get a bigger church. Yes, Lord, I believe you're going to give us a better price on a church. Yes, Lord, I believe that you are going to do this in my life, no matter what the circumstance look like. So when God seems to linger rather than saying, if only, try to say, I believe. He is the resurrection and the life. His plans often involve greater works, like for Lazarus, He raised him from the dead rather than healing him. And I actually have kind of sad news to share with you guys. Today, I was going to share, actually, in my sermon, a great testimony. After applying to nursing school for a year, I was finally chosen to be in the program. However, this morning, I got a phone call, and the lady said, we have posted the results, and we have chosen the people. However, it looks like our computer system did not do the lottery completely random. Turns out we have to redo the whole lottery. And that was so hard for me to accept, because this was something I was praying for, something I wanted so bad, and it was just so hard for me. But in the back of my mind, I'm saying, that doesn't mean no. That doesn't mean my number's not going to get picked the second time around. That doesn't mean anything. And even though I can't stand here and say that testimony, I know that in a few years, I'll be able to say a bigger testimony about what God did in my life. And even though it's not fair, because she said that you will be starting in winter, and that was like a will. She didn't say you might be, but it was like you will. And we called her and said, we're like, well, what if somebody made a life plan changing their whole life around it because they got in that program? What if somebody denied another school to go to this school? It's not fair. And she's like, yeah, I agree, it's not fair, but it's not fair to the other people who weren't perfectly randomly drawn. So we'll see what happens with that. But right now, I'm praying and I have faith. And today it turned out to be amazing. Even though with this bad news in the morning, I am filled with joy, because I have faith God has something bigger, greater in store for me. And I go back to these 4 things. His ways involve greater works. Ultimately, it's His view of you that counts. It doesn't matter if your number wasn't chosen. It's His view that counts. It doesn't matter if in this life it doesn't seem fair to us, but it's what God sees. God is the one who chose those numbers. It's not the people. And God will choose those numbers again. And he has plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you hope and future. He has his own perfect timing for everything. He has more power and authority than anyone on this earth, or any computer system on this earth. So, also, as the day was going by, I was thinking more and more about these things, and everything that was turning to me. Like, I turned on the radio, and there was this thing, like this woman giving a testimony, faith like a roller coaster, and she was sharing her past and what happened and stuff like that, and how she said, I was like in a cart, I was getting pushed left, pushed right, pushed forward, and what I wanted to do was jump out. I just wanted to jump out of this roller coaster, but I stuck with it, and praise God she did. And just as Joseph had been sold into slavery, stayed in prison, he probably thought that it was misfortune after misfortune, and that he was just getting the short end of the stick, that it was just not his luck. But it was God making him and shaping him and preparing him for something greater. And, you know, instead of him just staying with his brothers, even though he was sold to slavery and sat in prison, instead of just living where his brothers lived, he became second to Pharaoh. That's like higher than anything. And on the way from today's camp meeting that me and Audrey were at with Christina, we were like discussing camp and everything like that, and we're driving home. And on the side of the road, we see a mother and like 3 kids pulled to the side of the road. And Andrew's like, should we pull over and help him? I'm like, yeah, why not? Even though I really was low on time because we had a lot of traffic by the time we came home. And I still had to make it for worship practice. So I'm like, okay, sure, let's go help. And we pulled over and we stopped to help. And we're like, hey, is anyone coming to help you? She's like, no, I've stood here for an hour waiting for somebody to pull over and help me. And I'm like, wow, nobody could have pulled over to help her for over an hour. And I just learned so much from her. She just really spoke into my life, because we pulled over to talk to her, and she was like, yeah, nobody came here for an hour. I was actually just about ready to give up. And I called my kids' daycare lady, and she's coming to pick me up. I was just going to have her pick me up and drop me off at work and take the kids to daycare. But my car would have sat here all night, and it could have gotten hit or towed or something. And I was just going to do that, but my youngest daughter, my oldest daughter, she's like, Mommy, let's just wait a little bit longer. And she's like, was praying, and she waited. And in that minute is when me and Andre came. So she's like, you know, that taught me so much about faith too, because I was just getting ready to give up, and I was getting angry and stuff that I was late to work, and this happened to me, and my tire popped, and I had to do this. And I learned so much from her. We took her into the car. The daycare lady took the kids. So, and there was only one spot in my car because my back seat was full. And then, so we took her to the tire place, the used tire place. We got her a new tire and everything like that. She paid $25, but we donated $10 to her to help cover the costs, as she's a single mom. And as I was talking to her, she was just telling me so much. I was talking to her. I was actually like adding points to my sermon on the way here and stuff, and I saw you and I pulled over. And she's like, oh, wow, that's awesome. What church do you go to? And she started talking to me. And she told me basically like testimonies in her life, and this just spoke into my life so much. Like her, I thought I was going to be speaking into her life, but she just taught me so much more. She shared her testimony of how she got her job. When she was a single mom, she had 3 kids, and she was with them all the time because they're really close together. And the dad left, and she's like, was standing in a line in Walmart, and she's like, the daughter wanted something. She's like, Mom, can I have this? She's like, no, you can't. I'm sorry, we don't have money for that. And she's like, well, can I please get it? And she's like, no, we barely can afford to eat today, and I can't get you that. And the lady behind her's like, yeah, she can. And she's like, no, she can't. She's like, well, why not? She's like, I do not have a job. I only have $50 to my name, and I'm trying to find a job. And she's like, well, how willing are you to work? She's like, I wanted to work yesterday. I am ready to work any minute. And she's like, well, you're hired. She's like, I'm a manager at a job, and I'm hiring you as of today, and you do have a job. So she can get that. So that was like awesome. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And it turns out that her manager was also a believer. And that way, like, she just got hooked up. It was crazy. And then she was also telling me how her first child was born, because I was saying that in my sermon I was going to talk about my friend who's had miscarriage after miscarriage, and it's like false hope each time. And, you know, like, this is kind of like with me in nursing school. I can't compare it to life, but kind of like it being in my hands and then taken away. I bet that's how people feel when they get a miscarriage. It's right there, and it gets taken away. And it's so sad each time to see something like that happen. And she was telling me, she's like, Yeah, I had 7 miscarriages, and then I had my first daughter. She was born, she's a miracle baby. She was born 1 pound, 3 ounces. If you guys don't know, a regular baby's 6 pounds. This baby was born 1 pound, 3 ounces, and she survived. And she didn't need any breathing tubes or anything. They put breathing tubes in her, but the baby kept taking it out and wanting to breastfeed. And from then, they never used breathing tubes, and she breastfed the whole way. And she's alive. I saw her daughter. And that's just such an amazing testimony of what God did in her life. And she was like, so you know what? Like with the whole nursing school thing, just have faith and believe. Don't declare that you're not in it. Don't declare anything like that. You know, just say that you believe, and God has his own timing for everything. And that was just like the greatest blessing to me. She was a blessing to me because through her example, she taught me so much about faith. And when I look at the Bible, I can look at Joseph's story. I can look at raising Lazarus from the dead. And no matter what happens in life, know who's in control. You might wait an hour, like she waited an hour on the road for us. You might wait a year, like I've waited a year. You might wait 10 years, which is how long Joseph was gone away into slavery and stayed in prison. So automatically when this happened, I thought misfortune after misfortune. How much longer am I going to wait? Why do I have to wait? And I realized God is in control. He's the one who chooses everything. But by looking at the Bible, I know when I fall down, I could just get back up higher. And it's all in God's timing, and we must wait even if our timing doesn't work. So I just want to encourage you guys in that, and praise God.